The series begins with Nadia, who is an ophthalmologist, working in a clinic in the village of Sfera, and is known for her kindness and strong love for children. In the evening, as she is going from work, a woman appears on her feet, covering her face, and asks her to help her. And you help her clean the clinic, and you give Nadia your newborn baby, and you tell her that she still has her baby right away, and that if her son finds out, he will kill her, and you ask her to take the girl and insult her, and she runs and Nadia gets out of the car to look for her. But she can't find her, so she gets into the car with the baby, and she tries in every way to silence the baby, but fails, so she decides to call with her friend Sally and her husband, Raji. We go to Nezma's father, and he finds out that Nezma has given birth, so he hits her. We return to Nadia, who does not want to deal with the child. Sally tells her about tips to help her deal with the child, and she prefers to try to put her to sleep. The next morning, Sally goes to Nadia to check on her. At that time, the female worker who helps Nada with the housework comes. Her name is Saida, and tells her that she saw Hamdi and Ruqayya with Nazma. At that time, Nadia asks his master to take the child and go up to the other apartment, and asks her to wait there with his child until they go. Sally don't show them. Nadia goes to open the door for them and they enter, so Hamdi tells Nazma's father that he wants the child, so Nadia says that the child is in the police office, so Hamdi is surprised and asks if the police know who the child is, so Nada says that she did not talk about them, so Nada asks Hamdi to contain Nazma and try to solve her problem quietly. And Sally comes out and tells Nada that Hamdi will not believe her, and that she must find a suitable place for the child. So Nadia goes to the police office and tells the policeman that she found this child in the street, so the officer replies and tells her that she is leaving the child and we will look into the matter. The next day, Nada goes to her work in the hospital, and there Sally finds him, so she welcomes her and enters her work room, so Hisham enters behind her and says that he has knowledge of what happened with her and that she is his fault and that she is not responsible for bearing the mistakes of others. So Sarah says, I can't throw his child alone in the street, and he abandoned her, and keeps blaming her. So Nada gets annoyed and asks him not to interfere in her private affairs. And then we see Nada while she is in the orphanage, and a child named Yunus enters her, and he is one of the children of the house. Yunus is very annoyed and complains that the nanny shouted at him, so the principal understands that Lubna did this because you did something wrong, so Yunus apologizes to her and leaves her, so the principal asks Nada for permission to bring his lady to breastfeed the girl, then continues their conversation, and at the same time Yunus returns to the office and asks Nadia to play with the child who is with her. Once Nada bids him farewell and promises that Alice will come here again to see him. The next morning, Nada feels lonely and sad, so she thinks that she is raising a child who will fill my loneliness, and then Nada goes to the hospital, and there she meets Sally, and Sally says to me, Nada, you look sad, so Nada replies and says that she misses the child because she used to fill my loneliness, and now I feel lonely again, so Sally says that Hisham wants to he gets to know her more, and you have to try to work with Hisham nicely, because he likes you and is waiting for the same feelings to be exchanged, so Nada gets annoyed and tells her to go to work. And then a girl named Salma and her father, Salah, enters her. He is feeling tired because of his eyes, and he was trying to detect, so there is admiration between him and Nada, and then we see Salah and he is shouting with Rania, his ex-wife, because she wants to postpone the travel date that Salma promised us with their daughter, and he tells her that she should take care of her daughter and not prefer her work over. And one day Nada goes to the orphanage to meet Yunus, and Yunus is very happy with her presence, and they separate to play with each other. Yunus takes Nadi to his room to see his toys, and his friends enter and get to know Nada, and the children's nanny enters and disturbs their minds because they put pictures of singers in the room, and she decides that she paralyzes them and the children try to stop her, and Nada tries to stop her, but she says that she does not interfere in her work, so Mays Lubna intervenes to calm the situation, so he teases Yunus over the nanny, so Mays Lubni decides that she will punish him, but Nada defends Yunus and says that he was joking. In the evening, Nadia, Sally, and Raji sit together and talk to each other, and at that time Nadia tells them that she has decided to adopt a child, but Sally presents and tells her that she still has a marriage and a life ahead of her, and she cannot miss her chance of marriage by adopting a child who lives with her. It's a painful feeling, so Sally says that if she had the chance to get married, no man would raise a child other than his own. And then we see Bones trying to escape from the orphanage and falling from the wall of the house. On the morning of the second day in the hospital, Nada is surprised by the presence of Yunus and Mays Lubna, and she tells her that Yunus fell from the wall and was hurt, and he needs to check on his eye. Nada goes to the examination room with Eunice, and Nada asks him about the reason for escaping, so Bonus tells her that he does not like the orphanage, so she is surprised by Nazi and tries to understand that they love him and fear for him in the orphanage. In the evening, Nada goes to the orphanage to visit his daughter Nesma, and learns that they are in the school, Alam. She tells me that she has decided to adopt Alam. She goes to Eunice to check on him. She gives him a plaster to put on his eye so that he will not be disturbed by the shape of the hospital plaster. She gives him a toy, and they separate to take and play together. The next morning, Nada goes to finish Alam's adoption papers. In the hospital, Nada meets Salah, and he says that he came to adjust the sizes of the glasses for him herself, and shows that they like each other. Nada goes to Sally to give her a birthday gift, and Sally asks Nada about Hisham, and she tells her that they are fighting with each other, especially after Hisham knew that I wanted to adopt a child. When Sally goes home, Sally is surprised that her husband, Raji, made a surprise for her birthday, and it turns out that Sally is not happy, so he tells her that he is going to give her away from Nada, so she agrees and makes Sally happy. And Sally goes to Nada and they sit and talk to us. Suddenly the bell rang, and Nada goes to open the door, and she finds her brother Khalid and his wife with a scent of their children returning from travel, so Nada is shocked. And Nada goes to arrange rooms for them, and she knows that they have decided to return to Egypt once and for all, and they will not travel again. And Nada tells me about what happened to him outside the country. The next day, we see Salah sitting with his mother, Sila, and she tells him about what happened between him and Rania, who divorced him. Sila says that there are no two separated people who treat each other like this, as if they are in a relationship with each other, so Salah says that they deal with her in this way because of his daughter Salma. At the same time, Salami calls him and tells him that she has a problem and needs him to come to her. When he goes to her, he finds that her car is broken, and after that, they sit together in a cafe and talk, waiting for the car to be fixed. Salah learns from Rania that there is a person who likes her and wants to marry her, and he wants to introduce him to Salma, so he gets very angry and refuses that anyone recognizes her. Then we see Nadia in the house with Eunice, and she promises him that she will take him on a picnic, and she tells him that she will get him everything he wants, so Eunice asks her to stay with her and never leave her, so she is very happy with Eunice's words, and decides that she will back down from adopting Alam and adopt Eunice instead of her. When Eunice knows, he becomes very happy. The next day, Salah goes to Nada in the hospital to find out, so he hears her talking on the mobile phone and she is screaming, so he asks her about the reason for the problem. Nada said that she is going to transfer her son to a good school, but she can, so Salah says that he can solve the problem, and they take each other's numbers to communicate. After that, Nada sits with Khalid and his wife Basant and tells them that she is going to adopt a child and she will come to live with her, so they attack her and say that people will talk about her like this, but he refuses and leaves her and goes, and she enters after him for a scent. And the supervisor of the house comes to see if the place where Eunice will live is suitable or not. Khalid enters and says that he does not agree to the presence of any child in the house. The supervisor stops the procedures and says that the basic condition is not expected and that her family refuses to have a child. Nada begs her and tries to solve the matter, but the supervisor is determined to go. The next day, Nada goes to the orphanage to visit Eunice, and she knows that she is facing problems and that it will be late for the adoption procedures to be completed. Eunice cries and tells her that you don't want to take me with you, so she gives him a gift and tells him that she loves him very much and promises him that she will solve the problems as soon as possible and goes. Then Salah calls Nadia and tells her that the principal of the school where my daughter is staying agrees to take your son, so Nada talks to him while she is crying. When Salah asks her about the reason, Nadia tells him that she has problems. At the same time, Sally and Raji are sitting and having breakfast together, and he tells her that he will find a psychiatrist for them in order to fix their relationship with each other, so Sally says that nothing will be fixed after what she saw and what happened to her, and Raji says that they cannot stop their lives and they must continue, so Sally says that it is impossible for her to be happy and comfortable after the death of her son. Then we see Basant trying to convince Nada that she changes her mind about adoption, but Nada remains determined to see her, so Basnet suggests to Nada that she lives in the apartment on the top floor, with Eunice, away from Khalid, so Nada agrees and tells Basnet that she will live with them in this apartment for a temporary period until it ends. From the processing of the other apartment. The next day, Nadia goes to the school, and there she accepts Salah and enters with the principal. The principal is very welcome to have Yunus with her in the school, and then Nadia sits with Salah and talks about himself and his daughter Salma, and asks her to invite her to a cafe, and she agrees and she is happy. Nada goes back to the hospital, and there she meets Sally, and she tells her that she decided to adopt Yunus instead of Alam, so Sally gets mad at her, and tells her that the matter is difficult, that she has gone crazy, and that no girl would do this to herself. Then we see Sally and Raji at the psychiatrist, and Sally talks about her psychological suffering after the death of her son, and about her guilt that she was the cause of his death and that she was unable to help him. And then we see Nada preparing her papers and ready to adopt Yunus, and she will be very happy, and she will return to the house, and she will have clothes and toys for Yunus. At the same time, Yunus bids farewell to his friends in the orphanage, and Nada goes to take Yunus from the orphanage, and they arrive at the house, and they are very happy, and at that time Khalid becomes very angry with them and shouts, and she tells Basant that the boy is big and that she thought he was a little child, and she also says that she is worried about her children from him, so Nada says that I will make sure that Yunus does not deal with her daughter, and that Yunus will see all this and be a part of what happened. She goes to Basant and Khalid, and they talk to their children and assure them not to deal with Yunus. At the same time, Nada goes to Yunus and reassures him, telling him that he is not afraid of anything. Then Salah will call her and suggest that they go for a walk together so that Yunus gets to know Salma, so Nada likes the idea and agrees. The next morning, Nada and Yunus go to the mall to buy him new clothes and toys. At lunchtime, Yunus and Wendy would have lunch together in the kitchen, so she would ask Khalid for a penny, and he would tell Wendy that they would have lunch with them. And Yunus tries to play with Adam ibn Khalid, but Adam lies and says that Yunus hit him, but his sister says that Adam is a liar and that Yunus only wanted to play with him. Then Nada sits with Yunus and asks him not to be upset about what happened, and that with time Adam will love him. The next morning, Nada, Yunus, Salma, and Salah go to the amusement park, and they spend time together, and it appears that they are happy and Salah tries to get closer to Nada, and he tells her that he likes her. And the next day he is the first to go to school for Yunus in his new school, and there the school speaks to him in English, but Yunus does not understand, and his classmates laugh at him. After the school day ends, Wendy's weapon will be waiting for their children, and Wendy will ask Yunus about his day. Yunus tells her that he is sad because his friends laughed at him because he can't speak English like them, so Nada tells her that she will make him happy and that she will talk to him a lot in order to become more like them. At the same time, Salma tells Salah that she is sad because her classmates laughed at Yunus. And then Nadia and Salah meet together, and Salah tries to tell her that he likes her. At the same time, Salah's ex-wife, Rania, calls, and Nada is surprised that Salah and his ex-wife, Rania, work together, and his relationship is still good. At the same time, at home, we see Adam bothering Yunus and not wanting him to go to the bathroom. Adam's sister defends Yunus and asks her brother to leave Yunus alone. The next day, it will be the birthday of Zina, Nadi's niece, and Yunus will be very happy because he is at a party at home, and Yunus will be preparing for the party. We see Nada with Basant, and Nada says that she will call Yunus to attend the party, but Basnet asks her that Yunus is no longer there, so Nada gets upset with her and goes to Yunus, and she knows that they will not be able to go to the birthday party, so Yunus gets very upset and knows that they do not like his presence, and Nada tells him that she will give Zina her gift, she will come to sit with him immediately, so Yunus gets very upset and angry and breaks his picture with Nada. When Nada arrives, Yunus tells her that he is not happy, so Nada decides that she will go to the apartment on the upper floor before completing its preparations, so that Yunus can feel comfortable and reassured. Yunus tells Nadi that he knows that no one loves him, so Nada hugs him and tells him that she loves him very much and that he is the most important person in her life. At school, Yunus tells Salma that he used to live in an orphanage, and that Nada is not his real mother. At the same time, Selma's friends enter and annoy Selma because she became Yunus's friend and left them. But Yunus asks them to stay away from Salma. Yunus is on the ground, and Yunus was trying to defend himself, but the school takes Yunus and the children, and the school administration swallows Nada what Yunus did, so Nada goes quickly to the school and finds that the principal is an obstacle to Yunus and Salma, and she will not believe them. Nada annoys Yunus and forces him to apologize to his classmates. When she goes out, she meets Salah, and he talks to her in an unkind way because his daughter had a problem because of Yunus, so Nada gets annoyed with him and takes Yunus away. On the way, Nada yells at Yunus and she doesn't believe him, so Yunus gets annoyed with her because she is following him and he didn't do anything. Nada is forced to take Yunus with her to the hospital. And we go to Salma, and she is sitting with her grandmother, Sila, and her mother, Rania, and she is talking about what happened with her and with Yunus, so Rania is annoyed and asks her to stay away from Yunus, so Sila gets angry at her, and she says that what happened is normal, and it happens in many schools. We go to Yunus and see him tired, so she asks Basant for help, and when she goes with her, she finds that Yunus has a high temperature, so she tries to help her by lowering the temperature, and then she thanks Nadi Basant for her help. The next morning, Nada wakes up, but she doesn't find Yunus next to her, so she gets scared and goes to the other apartment, and finds Yunus eating a PlayStation, and Basant takes care of him. And the doorbell rings, and she is surprised by Salah, who apologizes to her. And then Nada decides that she teaches Yunus karate, and Nada takes Yunus to the club and tells her that he loves her and Nadia is surprised by the presence of their friend, and they are surprised at Yunus, so Nadia says that it is her son, so they are more shocked and sit together. And he tells her how to adopt a child when she is not married, so Nada annoys them, and when she goes, one of her friends goes with her because her son plays karate with Yunus, and they go with us to attend exercises, but Pons does not want to train, so Nada takes him and goes. The next day, Yunus goes with Nadi to see his friends in the orphanage, and there he meets Maze Lubna and tells her that he is not happy with Nadi, so she tells Lubna that this is normal in their first life together. The next day, we see Salah and Rania asking them to go on a picnic together, so Salah is surprised by her divorce and tells her that he is busy, so Rania gets annoyed. After that, Salah goes to Nadi's house, to Lamy, who supervises its preparation, and Nadi thanks him for his trouble with her. So Salah tells her that he wants to celebrate her birthday, so Nadi is surprised that he remembers her birthday and is interested in her. At the same time, she is amazed at San and welcomes Salah, hinting at San to Nada that Salah is young and sweet and suitable. And the time comes for Yunus to leave school, and Nada goes to Yunus, and she finds Rania there, because she decided to take Salma from school that day, and Rania decides that she annoys Nada, but Nada does not give her any attention. And Yunus goes with Nada to the training, but Yunus is annoyed and does not want to train, and when she asks him about the reason, he tells her that I want to train with my friends in the orphanage. So Nadia says that the club is better and cleaner, but Yunus is determined and dismissive, so she gets intolerant of him, and he also gets intolerant of her. The next day, Rania goes to Nada in the hospital to reveal her misfortune, and she tries to annoy Nada and ruin her relationship with Salah. The next day, we see Nadi agreeing that Yunus would practice karate with his friends at the house. The next day, we see Nadia and Salah doing yoga exercises, and Salah gives Wendy a gift on the occasion of her birthday, which is a chain with the name of Yunus written on it. Rania in every way to keep me away from you. And we go to Sally, and she asks Raji that they separate from each other, so Raji is shocked by her words and asks her about their love and their days together. And we go to It's Nada's birthday, and we see Yunus Khalid, Basant and his children celebrating it, and Yunus says it for the first time, Mama, so Nadi is very happy with the word. At that time, we see Rania, who traveled with Salah Salma, her daughter, and she tries to get close to Salah so that Salah can return to her again, challenging Nada. At the same time, Nada travels to the village and takes Yunus and Khalid with her. Nadi tries to call Salah, but he does not answer her. She sees Ruqayya and tells her that we decided to marry him to the boy who had a relationship with her and she got pregnant from him, so Nada gets mad at her and says that they are thinking of getting married now after they left the child alone in the shelter, and she leaves her and goes. After that, we see Raji, and he will prepare his bag, and he will tell Sally that he will go, and he will finish the divorce procedures quickly, and he will go. We see Nadia with Salah, and she reprimands him because she used to call him during his travels, but he did not answer her, so he tells her that Rania was trying to restore their relationship. Salah is behind her and tells her to talk to me. She said to him, Nada, I am not supposed to make your decisions for you, and leave her car and go. And when she comes home, she cries because she was shocked at Salah. The next day, Sally goes to Nada, and Sally tells her that she found out that I am pregnant, so she says to Nada, don't separate because of the baby who is coming, and Nada excuses her that she has been away from her for the last period and was busy with her, so Sally asks him about Salah, and she tells her that he separated from her and returned to his ex-wife. Nada cries and feels disappointed and sad. When Nada goes to the hospital, she discovers that all the patients she is responsible for have turned to Dr. Hasham, and she goes to him, and when she asks him about the reason, he says that it is because of her lack of concentration at work, and that there are many patients who complained about her. And at that time, Nada knows that Hisham did this to her in revenge, so she says that you are a sick person. And then Salah tells his mother, Sila, if he decides to return to Rania. Sila gets annoyed and tells him that she is responsible and that they will fight and separate again. At that time, Salah will be convinced of his mother's words, but he cannot make a decision and choose between them. After that, Selma tells Salah that she wants to go on a date with Yunus, and asks him to call Nada and agree with her on an appointment. In the evening, Salma agrees with Yunus that they go together to attend a story session organized by the school, and they agree that they do not know Nada and Salah, so that they meet as if it was a coincidence. When they go to sleep, Salah greets Nada, but she does not answer him, and leaves the place and goes and sits in her carriage. Then we go to Sally, and she gives him a gift and tells him that she is happy because she is pregnant and that she will have a boy or girl who will play together. Nada goes to Raji, and he tells her that he will contact her to tell her that the divorce procedures have been completed and she has become free. So Sally is shocked, and when he asks her why did you come here, she tells him that she came to check on him, and she does not tell him about her pregnancy but she hides it from him. When Nada arrives at her house, she finds Salah waiting for her. He wants to talk to her and tell her that he doesn't love Rania, and that he wants to go back to her because of Salma only, and he asks her to forgive him, and he apologizes to her a lot. Sanada tells him that she wants to enter the house and she never wants to see him again. The next day, Rania goes to Salah and says that she refuses that her daughter lives with a father who is in an orphanage. Salah says that Yunus is a well-mannered boy and that not all children in the orphanage are not sweet, and he yells at her for thinking. We see Nesma and her husband after they receive their daughter Alam from the orphanage so that she can live with them after they get married. Then Salah goes to Rania's house and shouts at Rania because she took my ladder from school without him knowing, so Rania tells him that whoever is between them will be the judge. So Salah goes to his mother, Sila, and tells her what happened between him and Rania. So Sila says that Rania will do this and more because she knows that he loves Nada, and she asks him to calm down, wait and be patient, and that Rania will return to Selma herself because she is not responsible and does not know anything about motherhood. At the same time, we see Khalid talking to Nada and telling her that it is impossible to get married because of Yunus, because he came from the shelter, and that first and last he is from the street, and no one will love him and he will lose her future. Yunus will hear all Khalid's words and be very affected. And then we see Sally going to the hospital to have an abortion. At school, Yunus tells Salma about what he heard and tells her that he is upset because he is the cause of the problems that happened to Nadi, and that people are annoyed with her, and that her father does not know how to marry Nadi because of me. When Yunus returns home, he won't eat and says he wants to sleep. Then we see Khalid in the village and he fights with the peasants and they beat him and he gets injured. When she finds out about Ascent, she goes to Salah to check on him. In the hospital, Nada is surprised by the presence of Salah, and he tries to apologize to her, telling her that Yunus told Salma that he heard Khalid talking to her, and explained that he was sad and feeling guilty. When Nada comes home, she hugs Yunus and tells him that he is the most important person in her life. Then we see Rania returning her daughter Salma to her father, Salah, because she is afraid of responsibility. When Nada wakes up from her sleep, she is surprised that Yunus is not in the house, and she searches for him in the apartment, but she will not find him, and she searches for him in the street, and she is afraid and terrified. At that time, we see Yunus alone in the street and lost. Nada calls Salah and tells him that Yunus has gone and left her, so he reassures her and tells her that he will help her. And we go to Yunus while he is on the street, and he finds his lady and tells her that he wants to go to the orphanage in the Mahdi area, so the lady helps him because he is a child alone, and she puts him on a microbus. When they arrive, they go to ride the metro, and at that time Yunus remembers that he forgot to take the toy, and Yunus goes to get it, but he is surprised that the metro is moving, and Yunus stays alone, and someone comes after that and asks him where Yunus is. Bones told him that he wanted to go to Mahdi, so the man reassured him and said that he would make him happy. And in Enough at the time, Nada goes to the orphanage and tells the director about what happened, and everyone is worried and afraid for Yunus. After that, Yunus arrives at the place, and gets into a small car, and asks the drivers to take him to the orphanage, and Yunus actually arrives, and everyone is happy. And then Nada sits with Yunus and asks him about the reason for his escape from her. So he tells her that he is more happy at home than at her house, and that she took him only because she does not have children, and that if she had a child, she would not have taken him, and that everyone in the house hates me, and no one welcomes my presence in the house, and he says that she does not want to come back with her once again. The manager enters and tells Wendy to leave Eunice until he calms down and we solve the problem. When Nada returns home without Eunice, she becomes very sad. Salami and Raji come to Nadi's to visit him, but Nadi tells Raji that Sally is pregnant and she doesn't want to know you. And we know that Sally has retracted her decision to have a miscarriage, so she decides to keep him and Raji is very happy. And in the next day, Nada goes to Eunice to try to talk to him, and they are with Salah and Salma because he loves them, and they convince Eunice to come home with her. After that, Salah sits talking with Eunice and tells him that he wants to marry Nada, but she does not agree because he upset her. Eunice says that he upset her and that he is the reason for not marrying her. Salah says that this is a mistake, and that if he returns now to Nada, he will marry her immediately. Eunice is very happy and agrees to return to Nada, and at that time, Nada will be very happy that Eunice will return to her. After that, he will be in a play where Eunice and Salma will act, and he will be at a party for the outstanding students, and Eunice will be one of them and Nada will be proud of him. It's the end. If you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye.